getting a lot of questions on the message board and our Twitter mentions about Todd Monken, about Glenn Schumann. A lot of Alabama fans are trying to connect the dots on Glenn Schumann's farewell post to Tresman Marshall. Jake Rowe, what are you hearing?
It's over. You're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. You're going to lose everybody else. A.D. Mitchell was the tip of the iceberg. No, man. I mean, nothing really. Honestly, I mean, it's one of those things. I always tell people it's kind of funny. Seth Emerson and I have talked about this like 50 times. We always get a good kick out of it. Is anytime there's like a big story circulating, even if it's like when Kirby Smart, I believe it was when Kirby Smart, the first time this came up, was being hired as Georgia's head coach, and there was the days in between Rick firing and Kirby hiring before it became evident, before you just absolutely knew for a fact it was going to be kind of a little bit of a it was a probability. Well, Seth and I talked about it. And we're like, hey, man, I'm doing dishes right now. I think people think I'm just like working the phones and, I don't know, trying to be like the media version of Jerry Maguire over here with a pocket protector and a short sleeve
Adam Schefter,
shirt, or something. My horn rim glasses, they call them birth control in the Army. I don't know. I think people expect that, you kind of reach out to people, send some texts, see what you hear back. And I got nothing. That's just kind of where it is right now. I mean,
you did hear though. You did note, I think, to at least one person who asked that both these guys, and there's social media evidence of this, they've both been out recruiting for Georgia.
Right.
So yeah. That's significant.
Yeah, and if they weren't, that would be news. That would 100% be news. But no, they've been out recruiting. I think Todd Monken was out in California at some point here recently, not too long ago. I don't know, man. Or out west somewhere. I'm not sure. But they're out recruiting. They're out doing their jobs. Listen, that's one thing. I'll tell you what, that's one profession. You get paid well enough to do it. But I'm impressed year in and year out with the guys who, you'll hear them being rumored for major jobs. There's work going on behind the scenes for a major job, and they're out there recruiting full bore. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt was sitting in church with Miko Hardman whenever Mark Richt got fired. I mean, these dudes go at it to the very end.
Just in Sunday school class with Miko, eating animal crackers and drinking lemonade.
Probably feeling a little uncomfortable. But that's just the way it is.
Jeff Ulbrich was trying to get Roquan Smith to sign on the line while he was signing his Falcons papers. Man.
Please sign Roquan.
Yeah. That was a legendary coaching recruit exchange right there. And talk about two career paths that just diverged in the Robert Frost woods. Crazy times.
There was a booster club bonus that was going to pay his little buyout there for UCLA. Hey, we'll pay you $50,000 if you sign Roquan. And he was like, yeah, God, give me that money. I need it. Moving expenses. I got to go across the country.
I don't want to start the show with a big nothing burger, but I think that is significant. A significant update that Schumann and Monken are out still wearing the G.
And Wes, I want to add this too. It's day to day, man. It really is. It's day to day. Like it may be mid-morning tomorrow. Something may be going on right this second, maybe mid-morning tomorrow before we catch wind of it. I mean, as far as I know right now, you're not seeing anybody else on the Georgia beat reporting anything going on with these guys. When it comes out, it'll come out. I mean, here's the thing with certain things this year, we've been way ahead of them. I feel like we were ahead of the pack on Cedric Van Pran, and we were kind of gave you a step-by-step, a blow-by-blow analysis of Lab McConkey and, how guys, I don't think folks understood, like a couple days after national championship game, I really thought this guy was gone. Like that was all the information, and it trended back to Georgia. Same thing with Cedric Van Pran. We were on, I feel like we're ahead of a lot of things. And then some things like the AD situation, like there were rumors out there for a while, you're checking on them, and there's people sometimes there are the people you talk to don't know yet. We may be dealing with that here, but I don't think so based on the fact that they've been out recruiting and kind of what, the thing is. I mean, I feel like if it was Glenn Schumann to Alabama, that's a very, close connection there. And that would have been an earlier move. Todd Monken has, I go back to that conversation that I talked about last episode where, Todd was talking there.
Todd, right?
He was talking there at the Peach Bowl, and I don't know, man. It didn't seem like a guy that was in a hurry to get out of town. But
which is interesting when you look at his career history as an offensive coordinator. He's never been anywhere for longer than 3 seasons. He spent, I think, one stint as some sort of quality controller, position coach early on in his career. He was there for like 4 or 5 years. But as an OC, he's kind of like one of those lizards you watch on Planet Earth running on the hot sand. He's just moving. He's on the move. He's going to check out the next opening. But it seems like Georgia's probably survived some of those attacks from college openings. You wonder about the NFL. But we talked about this when we did like an emergency live show about Cedric Van Pran's decision. And Tampa Bay is the one that everyone's circling right now. But would you trade what you got going on at Georgia and Athens for what the Bucks have? They seem like they could be not a desirable destination.
Subpar.
A 1 year stop, possibly. I mean, Todd Bowles is going to be on the hot seat. There's no question about it. And I mean, it's not looking good with that aging roster. I mean, it's things are trending downward in Tampa, unfortunately for them. But
yeah,
fortunately for the Falcons, I guess.
We have the photo up here if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, it is Todd Monken in a tweet from the Knoxville County High School Football Booster Club. They're jacked to have Coach Todd Monken stopping by to check on their Irish players. I assume that's their mascot name and not just their players that are of Irish descent.
That's Knox Catholic, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. They're in.
Oh, you're right. It's not Knoxville County. That's not a real place. Knox.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, man, I don't think
Catholic.
Knoxville.
And
maybe there's another Mays brother in the wings.
Same division as the Baylor school where Kirby was recruiting on. I think these were both on Friday. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, definitely had a chance to talk with Amari Jefferson too about that visit from Kirby, and definitely a clear impact maker. A lot of people went wild. I think that one kind of blew our mind with how people reacted to Kirby Smart coming in.
One of our best performing stories of the past week.
Yeah. Harris English must have sent in a few phone calls out that way and kind of fired some people up.
Forgot that's where he went.
Well, while people are wondering about it, guys, I don't want to speculate about it too much, but we kind of gave the treatment of what Georgia will have returning if AD leaves, and he did leave. So let's say Todd Monken and or Glenn Schumann are looking elsewhere. I think Georgia's done a pretty good job of keeping its staff intact and not only evaluating talent on the football field, but keeping its culture intact with the people that Kirby Smart hires, just to calm the nerves of anyone that may be wondering or worrying about what Georgia's got going on. When I look at Will Muschamp, I know people are going to shudder to think about this name, but Mike Bobo and maybe Coach B-Mac. I mean, do you think Georgia would hire from within at some of those positions, or do you think they would look elsewhere?
I mean, I think they'll definitely they're definitely going to give those guys from within a look. Guys, Kirby Smart made a bad hire at offensive coordinator for the 2019 season, and that was it. It was over. I mean, Todd Monken came in, one bad year. James Coley. It doesn't mean Kirby's not, not going to make another bad hire, but most of them have been good. I don't care what anybody says. Jim Chaney was a freaking good hire. Georgia got to Georgia with a freshman quarterback. Georgia pounded its way to the national championship game, undermanned, everything. So Jim Chaney was a good hire. Georgia had a good offense in 18 too. So I think I think that he's made, out of the 7 years he's been at Georgia, he's had one bad offensive coordinator, still found a way to win a lot of games, still found a way to get to the SEC championship game, for crying out loud. So just trust the guy. I think Mike Bobo is a good coach. I think that, it's a time to kind of hit reset and get into a different culture, and experience what he's experienced at Georgia is good for him. I'm old enough to remember folks not being all that fired up about Todd Hartley coming in either. And I think he's probably a stud right now. And that was Stacy Searles, and here you go. Georgia's recruiting them down the road. They're recruiting them right now, and they're coaching them too. So it's about the man. Years ago, there's a guy on our board, Natty Light. He was on the board before I got to this one. He used to always say it. There's a man in it's about the man in the big office. It's about the man with the big paycheck, and that's what it's about.
That's right. I'm not hedging our bets here. I'm not speculating. I'm just putting out there exactly what you just said, Jake. Trust that Kirby Smart can assemble a staff and keep this machine rolling, because other than Coley, you're right, that was a blemish. Other than him, you got to have faith in what Kirby's been able to assemble.
And what the hell else are you going to do anyway? Right? Are you going to march on the Butts Mirror?
I don't know, man. After the past week, I think people have just kind of forgotten that Georgia won 2 championships in a row. I'm saying anything and everything's on the table right now. I don't know what people are going to do.
I mean, it's realistically, obviously, no one wants Todd Monken to leave. No one wants Glenn Schumann to leave. But if there's a better
I disagree.
Okay.
I think Josh Heupel would love for both of them.
Well, sure, of course, yeah. But if those guys leave, there's not really many schools that are in a better situation to recruit a guy from both a monetary standpoint, from a success standpoint, from a roster standpoint. I mean, it's one of the most appealing coordinating jobs in the nation, if not the. So, I mean, I've not heard anything like you, Jake, that suggests that that's going to happen. But if it does, I think that you got to feel pretty good about the options that you'd probably be able to bring in if that were the case.
Yeah, just go show them the banners, show them the roster, and then say, "Hey, you want to dive in this pool of money over here?" And then I mean, then I think they'll think they've died and went to heaven. And I'm not
show them both the rings on your hand and give them the treatment from Friday Night Lights. Hey, get you one of these.